Welcome back to the Explainer. So today we are doing something, well, a little unusual, but honestly, it's absolutely fascinating. We're going to take a magnifying glass to an experience you probably have literally every single day, yet totally ignore. We're basically going to slow down time. Just imagine freezing a tiny 5-second window of your digital life and forensically analyzing what's actually going on in the background. Specifically, we're diving into the anatomy of a digital security checkpoint. You know, a loading screen. In this case, for the website www.ecu.edu.au. We've actually pulled the exact text from one of these fleeting little moments, so we can peek under the hood and understand the invisible machinery of the modern internet.
Right off the bat, look at how this interaction kicks off. Just a moment. 3 incredibly simple conversational words. We see this phrase and our brains immediately translate it to, a minor inconvenience, just a tiny pause before we get what we want. But if you look closely at our source material, this phrase is a total masterclass in misdirection. It creates this false sense of casualness. I mean, this isn't just a server taking a breath. It's the digital equivalent of a border agent holding up their hand and saying, "Hey, step aside, please." It masks a highly sophisticated, high-tech border crossing happening in literal fractions of a second.
Part 1. Performing security verification. Part 2. The malicious bot threats. So, why the holdup in the first place? Well, because the internet can be a pretty hostile environment. This setup brilliantly illustrates the core conflict going on here. On side 1, you've got you. And on side 2, malicious bots. See, the system can't inherently tell the difference between a student just trying to access a course catalog and a malicious script trying to scrape data or, worse, crash the whole server. To the system, until proven otherwise, you and the bot look exactly the same from a distance. The whole reason this brief pause even exists is because this invisible security service has to act as a defensive perimeter. Which brings us to this incredibly direct sentence right from the text. This page is displayed while the website verifies you are not a bot. The absolute most crucial word here is you. It's intensely personal, right? You are the subject of the investigation. The system operates on this guilty until proven innocent kind of framework. It just assumes you might be a threat, and it's using this split second to interrogate your digital presence. It's kind of wild when you think about the psychological dynamic of it all. You're just sitting there alone in your living room, clicking a link, and you are actively being judged by an algorithm. Moving on to part 3, JavaScript and cookies. Okay, so how exactly does it conduct this interrogation? Well, entry is entirely conditional. The source text explicitly states you have to enable JavaScript and cookies to continue. Let's break that down. Step 1, your browser must allow JavaScript to run. Why? Because it often tracks your mouse movements, your typing speed, and all these subtle human behaviors that bots really struggle to fake. Step 2, you have to accept cookies. This allows the system to verify your past behavior or establish a trusted session. And finally, step 3, only then can you continue. If you refuse these terms, the gate just will not open. You are straight up denied entry. Part 4. The mysterious Ray ID. Now, hiding at the very bottom of the screen is something most people never even notice. Right there, 9FF9FF43881E. Amidst the polite just a moment and the strict demands for cookies, you have this solitary, hyper-specific cryptographic string. And guys, this isn't random garbage. Out of the millions of verification checks happening globally at that exact moment, this specific Ray ID is a unique, irreplaceable artifact of your exact split second in time. Think of it as your receipt. If something goes sideways, like if you're falsely flagged as a bot, this string of numbers and letters is literally the only way the system knows who you were and what actually happened during your specific border crossing. Based directly on the text we're analyzing, we can define the Ray ID purely through its context. It sits right above the company name running the checkpoint. So a Ray ID is a unique identifier tied to the performance and security tracking for this specific verification event. It is essentially a digital fingerprint of the interaction. It's undeniable proof that this moment wasn't just a brief little pause. It was a heavily monitored, recorded, and cataloged event in a massive global database. So who's actually maintaining that massive database? Well, the text reveals the architect right at the bottom, performance and security by Cloudflare privacy. This really highlights the dual mandate of modern internet infrastructure. Cloudflare is the security service acting as the bouncer for the university's website. But notice the specific wording there. They promise both performance and security. And that's the tightrope walk, right? The challenge is keeping the malicious bots out while making sure that that just-a-moment screen actually only lasts a literal moment for legitimate human users like us. Which brings us to Part 5, Verification Successful.
We have reached the climax of this split-second microdrama. The algorithm finishes its calculations, your JavaScript ran, your cookies checked out, and your mouse movements were deemed sufficiently erratic and, well, human. But before the final verdict, let's just pause for a second. For 5 whole seconds, your digital humanity was fundamentally in question. The entire architecture of the screen, the required tech, the tracking IDs, the invisible defensive perimeters, all of it existed solely to answer one seemingly simple question. Are you a bot?
And here is the satisfying resolution pulled straight from our source text. Verification successful. Waiting for www.ecw.edu.au to respond. The invisible gates have finally opened. The security service has officially stamped your digital passport. Notice the handoff happening here too. The security service is stepping back, and the actual destination, the university server, is now being told, hey, it's safe to respond to this request. The checkpoint has officially been cleared. So what's the big takeaway from all this? We've taken a 5-second, totally mundane loading screen and stretched it out to see the incredible machinery operating just beneath the surface. And it leaves us with a pretty provocative thought. In a world of invisible security, where every single click requires a complex, algorithmic proof of our own humanity, who is really checking whom? I guarantee you the next time you see just a moment on your screen, you are not going to look at it the same way. You'll know exactly what kind of invisible border crossing you're standing in. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive, and I'll see you on the next explainer.